Hey, what's up you guys? So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about some common myths and misconceptions about owning pet parrots. There's a lot of misinformation that I hear about owning parrots that just aren't true or are only partially true. So I just wanted to clear some of that stuff up because there are so many people who do not like birds. And I feel like half the reason they don't like birds is because these misconceptions about them that aren't true. So I'm here to clear the air and tell you guys the good and the bad about owning parrots and what you need to know. So one misconception about parrots that I hear a lot that everyone says is that parrots are constantly screaming, they're very loud. And don't get me wrong, parrots are very loud. They do scream. Mango might look like a small, innocent, cute little bird, but his screams could literally make your ears bleed. Like, the sound that comes out of him is unbelievable. With that being said, they don't scream all the time. If you're taking proper care of your parrot, chances are you won't have to deal with the screaming as much. And the reason for this is because usually birds scream for a few reasons. The main reason being they want to get your attention, and a lot of people reinforce this by giving them attention only whenever they scream, which teaches the bird, if I scream, they'll give me attention. And other reasons why your bird might scream are because they're scared, or they might hear something that, startles them, or just in general they're trying to tell you something, so they scream, because that's what birds do. But if your bird isn't in the cage all the time, and you have your bird out, and you're playing with your bird, and you're giving them attention, they shouldn't have a reason to be screaming for your attention. So, birds are loud when they do scream, but they don't scream all the time. Mango screams as soon as I walk in the door because he just wants me to go to his cage and let him out. Or in the morning when I walk downstairs and he sees me, he'll scream because he's like, oh my god, Tyler, like, hey, what's up? So I take him out and then he's quiet as long as he's with me, like he's being quiet right now. Later at night, though, if I'm handling him, he'll scream because he's like, why am I out of my cage? I want to go to bed. Like, what are you doing? So then he'll scream. But just in general, like, they don't scream all the time, okay? So birds aren't that terrible. They only scream when they want your freaking attention. So play with your bird, okay? The next common misconception about parrots is that they are aggressive. And again, parrots can be aggressive, but it all depends on the context of this statement because it depends how socialized your bird is. A lot of parrots will only be accustomed to one person, and that person they've bonded with, they will be super nice to, and they love that person. You guys can have a great bond. Birds, in my opinion, parrots will bond with people as much, if not more, than a dog will bond with a person, because birds are very social animals and they're very intelligent. So birds will bond with you and they'll be super nice to you and they'll be your best friend. But if they only bond with you, then they'll only be nice to you and they'll be mean to other people and they might bite other people. But also there are some birds who are very socialized and they therefore are nice to pretty much anyone, unless they for some reason sense danger or they're scared or, there are certain reasons why they might bite to kind of like be like, hey, don't do that or whatever. But in general, they aren't always the most aggressive animals ever if they're socialized and they're well taken care of. The next common myth is that birds are messy animals, and this, again, is true, but only to a certain degree. It depends. Because I have a lot of people who say that birds are messy because they throw stuff out of their cage and stuff like that. And I feel like that's more of an issue with larger birds, because with like Gizmo, my severe macaw, he does throw some stuff that gets out of the cage, but like Mango doesn't get anything out of the cage. His cage, bird cages have like a tray at the bottom that catches anything your bird might shred up or any food that he might drop. And Mango's cage also has like a thing that goes around it so that if he tries to throw stuff out of the cage, it kind of like catches it and slides down into the tray. So Mango actually doesn't get anything outside of his cage. So cleaning his cage is actually super easy because all I have to do is scrape the poop off the bars and the poop scrapes right off. Like, it's not a big deal. And then I need to just empty out the tray at the bottom, which is just newspaper usually. Mango, what are you doing? So yeah, birds are not super messy. They don't like throw stuff all over the place. Like, they do tear stuff up and they do kind of make a mess with their food, especially if you feed them seed, which I'm gonna get into what you feed birds. But like, all of the mess they make should be caught within the cage usually, unless you have like some really crazy birds that like to throw things like aggressively, but I have never had experience with that personally. The next common myth about birds, and this is something that kind of annoys me because... Did he just poop? I think he just pooped. Okay. The next common myth about owning birds, and this one is kind of annoying because like every pet store I've been to, almost every every chain pet store I've been to, birds eat seed, right? That's a common thing. Like, birds eat seeds. That's what they eat. No, they don't. Yes, birds do have seed as part of their diet in the wild, but that's not all they eat. Birdseed should not make up the majority of your bird's diet because it's not nutritious for them. Birdseed has a lot of fat in it, and if you only feed your bird birdseed, they're not going to get all the proper nutrition they need, and it can cause them to be overweight. So what should you feed your bird, you might ask? Yes, it kind of does depend what type of bird you have, but in general, parrots should eat a majority of pellets, and also fresh fruits and vegetables, and then seeds you can still give them, but only like maybe 10% of their diet should be seeds, like not a lot. So if you want to know what I feed Mango, I feed Mango Zupreme Natural. This is not sponsored, by the way. I just feed him this. It's like, you know, super natural. You can feed your birds like those colorful-ish pellets, but I prefer not to, just because I want to give Mango like the most natural thing I can that's like, you know, doesn't have a bunch of extra added shit and colors to it. So this is super good. They come in all different sizes, so if you have like a small, like a parakeet or something, you can get like these tiny little ones, or they have bigger ones if you have a bigger macaw. But this one, it says, is for parrots and conures. So I give Mango this kind. And if you look at the ingredients list, there's nothing super scary sounding in there, and that's what I like to see. So personally, that's what I feed Mango. Mango doesn't eat much seeds. And then I also try to feed him some fruits and vegetables, which he doesn't eat a lot of, but I try, okay? And yeah, he likes to eat those. I get a lot of questions about if your bird is already eating seed, how do you switch them over to something like this? And my answer to that is, it is hard if your bird has been eating seed for like a long time and now you're like, oh, well, I want him to eat this now because I just learned that this is right. So what you need to do, the one main thing I've heard is you should mix a little bit of this in with whatever your bird is currently eating and slowly add more and more. Gradually take away the seed and put in these pellets, and then eventually, you know, make sure he's like eating it and stuff, and he will maybe hopefully get used to it. So yeah, I'm sure there's other ways to kind of teach your bird to change their diet, but I feel like that's the main way that I've heard of. Next misconception is that birds can be kept in like smaller cages. This isn't true. I don't think this is a huge myth. I feel like most people have enough common sense to know that birds need a big cage. But in general, if you're looking up what kind of cage to get a bird, get the biggest cage that you can. Try to get your bird the most room you can afford to give it, because the more space, the better. If you go to PetSmart and you're buying a bird and they're like, oh, you can put them in a cage that's like, you know, this big. No, you probably shouldn't. Like, put them in an actual, like, large cage. I don't know why Mango's doing this. Why are you trying to leave me, Mango? I don't know what's happening. Even if you look up the minimum cage requirement for whatever bird you're getting, try to give them a bigger cage, just because the more room the better, and the more happy your bird will be. And the last misconception I want to talk about is that parrots are low maintenance animals. Completely false. They are extremely high maintenance animals. In my opinion, they take a lot more time out of your life, or at least they should if you're doing it right, than a cat or a dog will. They require more attention, more one-on-one time, in my opinion. Birds, again, they're very social animals. They live in flocks in the wild, and they aren't even domesticated animals. They are very close to their wild ancestors. They do need like a lot of attention, and they are very intelligent animals, and they do need a lot of stimulation. So you do need to give them a lot of your time, and they are not super easy to take care of. Right, Mango? You're a handful sometimes. All the time. One last myth I want to talk about really quick, actually, is that parrots talk. Because yes, parrots have the ability to talk, but not all parrots will talk. Mango doesn't really talk that much. If you want your parrot to talk, you will have to spend a lot of time, hours every day, talking to your bird. So if you want your parrot to actually repeat what you're saying, you do need to do a lot to train them to talk. They won't just talk out of the blue. It takes a lot of time and one-on-one talking to your bird to actually get them to talk. Yeah, I think that's basically everything I wanted to cover, but in general, with any animal, you want to do your research before you buy it, and you'll basically figure out everything that's true and what's not true as long as you do some deep research on that thing, as long as it's not an impulse where you go to the store and you're like, hey, tell me about birds, you know? Because a lot of people don't know everything. So yeah, that's it for my common myths and misconceptions about parrots. Mango just shat on the floor. Thank you, Mango. Thank you very much. Birds. They're good animals. They're very good. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to say in this video. If you guys liked it, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel because I post videos every week. Check out my social media. The links to those will be in the description below. I'll see you guys in my next video, and also, as usual, don't forget to say goodbye to Mango.